Right, shalom, shalom. I hope everyone is having a shalom-filled day. I wanted to come on very briefly and share something that I was just hearing in my spirit this morning as I was up. I was just looking at some notes and just thinking about unleavened bread because if you don't know, we are unleavened bread is about to start. So it officially starts Wednesday at sundown. And so I was just looking at some notes, thinking about unleavened bread, looking at the timeline and things like that. And I wanted to share something that was really, really just impressed upon me this morning to just share really quickly. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to share a few nuggets that I heard this morning. But one of the things that I was looking at is, like I said, I was looking at unleavened bread and I was looking at the timeline. And one thing that I was hearing very clear is that it's so important to make sure that there is a solid understanding of unleavened bread, I mean, not unleavened bread, but more deeds and what they are. And that's something we're going to talk about really quick, just for a smidget. But one thing is that we are in this age of knowledge, and people are really waking up. They're getting knowledge, they're understanding the past, and they're really breaking away from a lot of religion and tradition and things that were passed down, which is not a bad thing. But the only thing is that some people are, yes, they're breaking away from Christianity, they're breaking away from holidays, they're breaking away from that romantic Christianity that we've been taught, but and really getting away from religion, but instead of truly freeing themselves from religion, they're jumping into another form of religion. So you do have a lot of people now who are they leaving the Christian Jesus alone. They leaving the Easter Jesus alone and really understanding saying that the math ain't math because how you gonna die and supposed to be in the grave 3 days, but you go in Friday, get up on Sunday. Like a lot of people are saying that the math is just not adding up and they're being bold and they're turning away, but they're turning away to the ancestors. They're turning away to doing nothing. They're turning away to the wrong things. Or even if they do find the feast, is still doused in religion. It's not the way that the Father intended his special appointed feast to be celebrated. So I wanted to share that because we have to make sure that when we decide that we're going to break away from religion, we're going to break away from tradition, we're going to uproot the bad thoughts and things that we've been taught growing up, because the word tells us that tradition nullifies the word of Elohim. So if you're going to decide that, hey, I'm not the Christian Jesus, I'm done, that's great. But make sure that you're getting kingdom and understanding the Father's intent behind what he said, because the Father didn't do anything for kicks and giggles. He didn't do anything just because. We can't approach the Father or his special feast or his time with just as, oh, it doesn't matter, it's no big deal, we'll just do it this way. That's what religion does. That's why we have Christmas, why we have Easter, why we have Palm Sunday, while we have Resurrection Sunday. So many people have taken this idea of it doesn't matter and I'm gonna give the Father what I want instead of what he wants, that they miss out on what he actually has for us. So one thing I wanted to point out really quickly, if you don't know what a Moed is, I want to just do just just a little nugget regarding the Moed. But if we look at Moed in the Hebrew, and our scripture reference is Bereshit, which is Genesis 1 and 14. And so it actually talks about and I can actually pull that up really, really quick. I wasn't trying to make this long, but it is important to touch that. So but I am gonna share it just really quick so you can see it. So if we look at Bereshit, which is Genesis 1:14, it says, Then Elohim said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let the signs and seasons for the days and for the years. So I have signs and seasons highlighted. But if we look on here, we see it. So right here we have the English and then we have it in the Hebrew. But if you look under this Hebrew word right here, you have Moed. And so, in short, the short answer of what a Moed is, it's a special appointed time. And one thing about Moedes is that they're based on covenant. See, the Father, he does everything with a purpose. He does everything with an intent. And with his covenants, there's a promise that comes with his covenants when we understand what his covenants are and we activate him, and not activate them, but we operate in the covenant that's been designed for us. But I wanted to share this because we have to really get an understanding of what Moed is before saying that I'm going to jump up and start celebrating a feast. Because you can celebrate feasts and do them wrong. There are a lot of it's a specific religion that starts with a J. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want the video taken down. But there is a specific group of people that celebrates the feast, but they're partying the whole time. The Father is not glorified in that. He's not in the midst of that. See, you can't do kingdom your way. You can't get a little bit of knowledge of the kingdom and then decide you're going to do it this way and that way. See, when you adjust, you have to conform yourself completely to the word of Elohim, completely to his system, completely to his Moed. And one thing I want to point out is that as we're coming into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, there are plenty of references in scripture that tell us that we should be celebrating these feasts. Well, in the newer translations, I think Easter is in there. Well, I won't say newer translations, but not in the scriptures, you're not going to find Easter. In what we have now, you will see Easter plugged in. But right here, I just want to point out, I'm not talking about all the feasts, but just unleavened bread. It says each year, every man in Israel must celebrate these three feasts: the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Harvest, and the Feast of Shelters. Not going to talk about the other ones because I want to focus on unleavened bread. But right here, and that is in the Debiram, I believe, but right here is telling us that we should be celebrating unleavened bread. He never said to stop celebrating any of these feasts. And even if you look in Corinthians, and I'll pull that scripture up really quick. Like I said, I wanted to make this short. If you look in Corinthians, and we can go right here. It says, get rid of the old yeast so that you may be a new unleavened batch. And so, just in short, and if I have time, I'll talk a little bit about unleavened bread on another video. But get rid of the old yeast so that you will be a new batch as you are. For Yeshua, our Passover lamb, was sacrificed. Therefore, let us keep the feast. He didn't say stop. He didn't say do Easter. He didn't say do Resurrection Sunday. He said keep the feast, and a nugget Passover is a part of unleavened bread. So not with the old bread leavened with malice and wickedness, religious doctrine. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Religious doctrine and traces of religion, do it this way and hoping that the Father accept it. No, see, the word says to be holy, for I am holy. So we can't approach Father, even if you have the idea, I'm going to celebrate unleavened bread, but you're doing it the way that you want to do it, it's still not in a sight that can be acceptable for the Father. So we have to make sure that we're before Him and in His presence. But it says, but with unleavened bread of truth and sincerity. In other words, what he's telling us, we need to make sure that we're doing it the way that he wants us to do it. But also, when it comes to unleavened bread, see, once we got to get an understanding of unleavened bread too. So we first got to understand that unleavened bread is a special appointed feast, and it's so important. It's special. The Father set it aside for us to operate in the covenant in the appointed time that he set aside. And so then once we get into unleavened bread, just a nugget, because it's supposed to be a short video, unleavened is, in short, religious doctrine. So we have to uproot those things in us that the Father isn't happy about. But one thing that we can start with is uprooting those religious ideas, uprooting a tradition, uprooting those things that shape the way that we think unleavened bread is, because there is a lot of teaching that says, oh, well, it's for the Jews only. Well, who said that? Because that doesn't align with scripture when the word says that he's not a respected person. So why does he have a set of holidays just for holy days, just for a specific group of people? So I wanted to leave that with you, is making sure that more deeds make sure we get that solid understanding of what a Moed is. Don't just overlook the feast. Don't say that Easter is sufficient, or I don't celebrate Easter, I celebrate Resurrection Sunday. That wasn't even the day that he rose, so why are you celebrating it? So we have to make sure that we start to ask ourselves, what's in me versus what does the word say about this? Why is that because I know one thing I wonder, I was like, why is only this special group of people get to do this and that? Like, why am I not a part of that group? Well, there was a lack of knowledge. There was tradition that had been taught. But as I've come into the knowledge, yes, I'm supposed to be celebrating these feasts. The Father put them in place for us to celebrate, so it's not something for us to overlook or just be lackadaisical about, but be intentional about celebrating. So I hope you guys enjoyed these few nuggets that I'll share with you this morning. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. And I speak shalom and happy early unleavened bread.